Hi everyone, my name is April. Raise your hand if you believe in Christmas miracles. After all, anything can happen on this holiday. Even Santa Claus himself might appear. Seriously, that's what happened to me. Subscribe to the channel and I will tell you the most incredible Christmas story. It all happened a few days before Christmas last year. We had decorated the house, a beautiful Christmas tree was standing in the living room, and Christmas stockings were hanging over the fireplace. Everything was ready for the celebration. Our parents were planning to visit our grandmother who lived in a nearby town, so I was going to be home alone with my older brother Eugene. To be honest, I didn't really want to be left with that idiot because he was always bothering and messing with me, but I didn't have a choice, so I decided to bear with it until the next day somehow. As soon as our parents left, I sat down to write a letter to Santa Claus. I believed that he was real and really wanted to get new AirPods for Christmas. I could hear Eugene talking to one of his friends on the phone. My parents have left. They won't come back until tomorrow. Get everyone together and come to my place. Let's have a party, he said. Heck, he just wanted to throw a party at our house. I was about to call Mom and complain about him when Eugene suddenly appeared next to me. He stared curiously at what I was doing, and then snatched my letter to Santa. What have we got here? Dear Santa Claus, he began to read. I got angry with him and tried to take the letter back, but Eugene was taller and stronger than me. He pushed me away and kept reading. Give it back! Don't you dare read it! It's not for you! I tried to stop him, but he finished reading the letter and laughed out loud. Abe, do you still believe in that bearded loser? He doesn't exist, said Eugene. I shouted that it was none of his business and demanded he return the letter. But my brother said that since there was no Santa, he would not need it. With that, he opened the window and threw the letter out into the street. I lunged at him with my fists, but he dodged and just laughed. I felt very hurt and started crying. Eugene completely ignored me. He took the car keys and went to the supermarket to buy food for the party. I sat all alone and cried. Why was my brother always so mean to me? And now he'd ruined Christmas. And then I came up with a cunning plan. Since he'd ruined my Christmas, I would ruin his party. Overjoyed, I ran to prepare my little revenge. When Eugene returned from the store half an hour later, everything was ready. He parked the car, took huge grocery bags out of the trunk, and headed for the house. I pressed myself to the window and prepared to watch. He was almost at the door, when he suddenly lost his footing and fell to the ground, dropping the bags. Eugene tried to get up and fell again. I laughed at the window, remembering how 5 minutes before that I had poured water on the path leading to our house. Finally, my brother gathered up all the fallen bags and reached the door. He ran into the house and shouted menacingly, April, come here! I know it was you! But I hid in my secret place and didn't make a sound. Through a crack, I watched my brother run around the house, trying to find me. But of course he couldn't. That was for trying to ruin my Christmas mood. When he couldn't find me, Eugene went to the kitchen. He saw a couple of broken drink bottles in the bags and started shouting that he would catch me and make me regret it once again. I watched him put a turkey on a tray in the oven from my hiding place. Eugene set the timer and went to throw some sand on the path leading to our house so that the guests would not repeat his epic fall. That's what I had been waiting for. Less than 10 minutes later, when Eugene was done, he suddenly smelled something burning. He dropped everything and rushed into the house. Smoke was already pouring out of the oven. He opened it and saw that the beautiful turkey had turned black and stank terribly. The oven was on full blast. Well, have you guessed who had done that yet? April, this isn't funny anymore. Come here, you little scoundrel, shouted Eugene, running around the house. I was quietly choking with laughter in my hiding place. My brother's party was almost ruined, but I was just getting started. Then Eugene got a call from his friends saying that they were already on their way and would be there soon. Damn it, April! I've got no time for anything because of you, my brother shouted as he rushed to his room. He was going to change into his best outfit for the party, but as soon as he opened his closet, he found the surprise I'd left him. All of his clothes were tied together in a tight knot. Oh yes, Everything was going according to my plan. My brother started to untangle his clothes, and when he finally succeeded, he realized they were all rumpled. Cursing, he ran to look for an iron. I waited for the right moment to take my plan to the next stage. As soon as the iron got hot and Eugene began to iron his shirt, there was a terrible crash from the living room. What was that? Oh, nothing much. I'd simply dropped our Christmas tree. My poor brother immediately left the iron there and ran towards the noise. But as soon as he appeared in the doorway, I threw a whole bucket of flour on top of him. Eugene was left standing there, white as a snowman, while I was dying laughing with an empty bucket in my hands. But then my brother finally noticed me. I was faster than him, but he was so furious at that moment that he chased me like a real Hulk, only a white one. He finally caught me after about 5 minutes. I don't know what he would have done to me if he hadn't smelled something burning again. Yes, it was the iron that had burned a huge hole in his shirt. Eugene's favorite outfit was ruined. He was very angry. He dragged me by the arm, shoved me into my room, and closed the door behind me. And to keep me from getting out and completely ruining the party, he propped up the door with a chair. I started shouting and kicking the door. "Open the door! Let me out, Eugene!" I shouted. But it was all just for show. I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I waited until Eugene had left, then opened the window and climbed out onto the roof. At that time, my nasty brother was washing the flour off himself and trying to make himself look presentable. That's why he didn't see his smart little sister rehang the garlands on the home front. By the time Eugene's friends arrived, everything was ready. They got out of their car, headed for the house, and suddenly saw a huge garland spelling out, "I'm a loser." When my brother appeared in the doorway, he stood right where the arrow hanging next to those words was pointing. Naturally, Eugene's friends immediately started laughing and teasing him, and he just stood there with no idea what was going on. My brother's friends went into the house and the party began. They were drinking cocktails and having fun, but Eugene was tense. He realized I had gotten out of my room and was preparing another trick. Of course, he was right. When the party was in full swing, the lights suddenly went out in the entire house. I knew where the main switches were and had turned them off. Of course, my brother's friends immediately got scared and started running around the house, dropping everything in the dark. Eugene guessed who had done it at once and headed towards the switches. However, when the lights came back on, music started blasting in the whole house. So loud the windows began to shake. I had taken advantage of the darkness and turned up the speakers to full power. It was hilarious to watch all of the guests cover their ears and be helpless to do anything. Unable to bear the sheer volume of the music, everyone ran out of the house only to be met by the police who had just arrived. Well, you can probably guess who had called them. My brother was charged with disturbing the peace. They were about to take him to the police station when my mom and dad finally showed up. That wasn't a surprise to me because I'd called them and told them what Eugene was doing myself. Our parents somehow managed to solve the problem with the police. My brother's friends left and the party was over. I was happy with my victory. I finally got my revenge on Eugene for ruining my Christmas. But looking at the mess in the house, I realized that it was ruined for all of us. Our parents looked upset. "Eugene, April, are you ever going to stop fighting?" my mother asked sadly. We were both at fault. As a punishment, our parents told us to clean up the house. My brother and I set to work in silence. I was cleaning and Eugene was putting the Christmas tree back up. At one point, he turned to me and said, "This is all your fault, April. Not only did you ruin my party, but now we're going to spend the night cleaning up this mess." I got angry with him. "You started it. Why did you throw my letter to Santa out of the window?" I said. My brother came up to me and said Santa Claus wasn't real. However, I said that Eugene had believed in him a couple of years ago and written letters to him as well. Wasn't that right? Eugene thought about it. "Yeah, you're right. I believed in miracles back then, and it was pretty cool," he said dreamily. I told my brother that I still believed in them and didn't want to become a boring grown-up like him. He turned thoughtful again, and I thought he was beginning to understand me. "It doesn't matter anyway," I said. "I've been bad, and Santa's definitely not going to give me anything." But I was wrong. A couple of days later, when Christmas came, there was a knock on our door. Who could it be? I rushed to open it and saw A man with a snow-white beard and a red hat on his head? Santa Claus! However, after a moment, I recognized my brother behind the beard.
Ho, ho, ho! April, you've been a cool sister, and for that, I'm giving you this,
Santa Eugene said. With that, he handed me a beautiful box. I quickly unwrapped the gift and found something I had been dreaming of inside. Brand new AirPods! Eugene said he'd bought them for me because I really deserved them. Never grow up, April, and always believe in miracles, said my brother. Since then, we've stopped fighting. I promised Eugene that I would help him organize a new party and would definitely not ruin it again. And he asked me to teach him how to do such cool pranks. What is it, if not a real miracle? Write your ideas in the comments down below, and I will say hello to Santa Claus for you.